Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be diving into my portfolio of stock investments, explaining how those stocks have performed over the past year, what those companies actually do, and most importantly, why I hold each of those individual stocks. I have two stock portfolios at the moment. The first is invested passively in my 401k, and that's around 25% of my total holdings. And then I also have my Roth IRA, which is about 75% of my holdings. I actually add around 3 times more money to my 401k than my Roth IRA each year, but because the Roth IRA has so greatly outperformed the 401k, as well as the fact that I started investing in my Roth IRA earlier, means that my Roth IRA is a much greater percentage of my total portfolio. With that said, let's start getting into the stocks. Oh, and one thing to note, all of this stock performance is as of the end of June 2020, which is about a month before I'm recording this video. This is because I only update my stock performance once a month. So this is a tracker that shows my current portfolio of stocks. On the upper left here, you can see my current holdings with the list of all the stocks I own. On the right here, I have a list of any holdings that I've sold this year. And then at the bottom, I just track each of my different accounts and how much money is in each of those. Now you can see that I own a fairly concentrated portfolio of just 6 stocks. The reason for this is I really just can't track many more than this number of stocks. The way that I buy and sell stocks is based on the future growth of the company and whether or not I believe that a company will be worth more in the future than it is today. If an earning report comes out that shows that a company is no longer performing the way that it used to be, and my theory for why the company would do well no longer holds water, I need to know that immediately so that I can sell the company. In order to track a stock that closely, I have to keep my number of holdings fairly small. Similarly, if I see that one of my companies is greatly outperforming the other companies, I will sell some of those other companies in order to buy more of that better company. This is what happened in cases like Datadog here, which is why this is becoming almost 30% of my total stock portfolio. That's actually getting a little high. I might sell some of those. But then the other reason that is such a high percentage is because the stock's just performed really well and it's grown a lot. So it's definitely a balancing act between being too invested in one stock, but also trying to be highly invested in the stocks that I know are going to do well. Another upside to holding such a small, limited number of stocks is I can pick stocks that won't just outperform the market. I can pick stocks which I think will greatly outperform the market. And it's because of that I'm able to see year-to-date performances like this. My lowest one is only 21%, and that was a stock that I've only just got as a tryout. It's not even a full position. My lowest performing year-to-date performance of a stock that I actually have a full position in is 71.1%, which is crazy. Each stock that I have listed here could easily be its own video, but I'm going to now dive into each of these individual stocks and give you kind of an overview of each one. The first company on this list is Okta. Okta is an identity access management company, meaning they manage all the different apps and services that a company might need in order for one of their employees to do their normal job. They basically make it easy for people in large organizations to manage all the different apps within their organization without having a bunch of different access management tools. During the start of the illness, which has been affecting us the last couple months, Okta didn't lose money. In fact, their revenue kept on growing. In fact, they went one step further than growing, and their rate of growth increased, meaning they accelerated during the illness. They guided conservatively over the next few quarters, but based on how they performed so far, I'm not worried in the slightest. Next up is Alteryx. Long story short, Alteryx allows people to analyze their data. It bills itself as a self-service data analytics platform, meaning you don't need to be an actual technically skilled data analyst to use their tool. Now, the reason that I originally bought this stock was after I found out that PwC was actually dropping Alteryx as an accounting client because they would rather use Alteryx's tool than have them as a customer, and it would be a conflict of interest to have both. How good must a company be that you're not only willing to pay for the product, but you're willing to lose that entire company as a customer just so that you can use their tool? This is also just a really well-run company that's been growing almost unstoppably over the last couple years. Unfortunately, Alteryx has faced some headwinds due to the illness, and because of that, I've dropped the percent of my portfolio that I have allocated to it. This used to actually be my largest position, but I recently dropped it from the around 20% position that it used to be to what you can see here, which is around a 10% position in just my stock portfolio. The next stock that I want to look at is Datadog. Now, if you saw my previous video explaining some of the do's and don'ts of stock investing, I told you don't worry about the price that a stock used to be, just focus on what the price of the stock is now and if it's a good buy at that price. Now, Datadog is a good example of a time that I actually followed that advice. You see, I bought this stock for the first time in January at a price of around $42, after it had already run up almost 16% from where it had been just a few months earlier. Now, because I didn't price anchor, I didn't worry about the fact that it had already gone up 16%. I knew that it was a really good company, and I expected the price to go higher, so why did it matter that it had been 16% lower just a few months before? That didn't have any bearing on its future price. This company sells subscriptions to companies that help them monitor their applications, their security, and their infrastructures through what it calls a single pane of glass view, which basically makes it easy to unite these 3 different areas of operations under one roof. This basically saves companies a ton of money and increases their productivity, and so it pays for itself, which explains why it's been able to do so well even during the headwinds that most companies have faced over the past few months. This has actually been one of my best performing stocks, and it's up almost 120% just this year. The next company is Crowdstrike. They provide endpoint protection to organizations. They have been growing like crazy over the past year and have not been negatively impacted by the illness at all. In fact, they have been hiring more people over the last few months, and they grew 105% in terms of the number of subscriptions that they had over the past year. They are also heavily investing in R&D, where they claim that they get a $3.77 average rate of return on every $1 spent on research and development. When I see numbers like that, it tells me they can use my money a lot more efficiently than I can, which makes me really excited to invest in it. I'm going to guess that most people already know this next one, but in case you're the one person out there who hasn't heard of Zoom, it's a video collaboration tool which has basically taken the world by storm over the last couple months. Now, Zoom originally IPO'd only around a year ago, and since then it's been growing pretty well, but once the illness hit, for some reason, everybody decided to get on Zoom at the same time. Now, several months ago, everybody saw that this was happening, and they saw that the number of Zoom users was going up crazy amounts. And yet, for some reason, the stock price didn't reflect this nearly as much as I thought it would. In fact, most people seem to think that all those free subscribers wouldn't translate into any paid subscribers whatsoever. Those people ended up being proven completely wrong in their last earnings report, where Zoom reported that they were up 169% in revenue over the last year. It's pretty nice. Next is Livongo. Now, this is still just a small tryout position. You can see here that I only have a 1.5% of my portfolio invested in this stock right now. This is a platform for digital health management. What this means is any kind of chronic conditions that can be treated virtually or using some kind of digital technology would fall under this Livongo platform. In my opinion, this could be a huge stock, or it could be a stock that peters out pretty quickly. I'm not really decided yet on how confident I am in this stock, so for now, this is just a wait and see. Now that I've gone through all of my different stock holdings in my portfolio, I want to dive a little bit more into my reasonings for how I buy in and buy out of these different stocks. If I see one of my companies that's doing exceptionally well, I usually buy more of it, regardless of whether or not the price has gone up or down. For example, with Datadog, that stock had already gone up 16% in the last couple months, and yet I thought it was a great company that was going to continue to grow, so I still bought it back in January. Because of that, I'm up over 120% since January. I think a lot of investors sometimes, before they actually buy into a stock, think, well, maybe I'll just wait for the stock to dip a little bit and then I'll jump in. Or they'll see a stock which has already jumped up a bunch and think, well, I've already missed the boat, it's too late for me to buy in now. It's really important for you to ignore these small moves in the previous price and instead focus on what you think the price is going to be in the future. Let's use Zoom as an example. Zoom is up almost 130% for me just this year. When I first bought Zoom, I could have tried to wait for a dip of 50 cents in the stock price. But maybe that dip never would have come and I would have missed the following $70 rise in the stock price. When you're up 130% over half a year, you don't remember if you made $70 a share or $69.50 a share. Waiting to try to buy the dip is just focusing on pennies and ignoring the huge amounts of dollars there are out there to be made. So that's my complete portfolio review. Let me know if you would like a deeper dive into any of the stocks I talked about here. Each of them could easily have an entire series of videos about them. Also, let me know if you enjoyed this portfolio review and if you'd like me to do more reviews like this in the future. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see similar videos in the future, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time.